setting our coordinates for the heart of the Cloud Nebula, filled with the exotic droning sounds of India and of decades past. We'll be doing this by exploring the iconic sitar, heard not only in Hindustani classical music, but also in rock classics by Tom Petty, the Rolling Stones, and the Beatles. But did you know that you can get the sitar's far-out sounds using other methods, such as Danelectro's sitar guitars and the EHX Ravish pedal? The sitar is a stringed instrument that evolved from the long-necked lute on the Central Asian subcontinent hundreds of years ago. A sitar typically contains 5 to 7 plucked strings played over raised movable frets. But the iconic sound of a sitar comes more from the javari, a special raised bridge that causes a buzzy sort of vibration to occur, and from the inclusion of 13 sympathetic strings that vibrate and drone due to the sound output by the main strings. My sitar contains a piezo pickup, allowing me to jack in and play through pedals and effects. I'll start with a simple low-gain boost from my Delamo D8 Overdrive, which is an extremely inexpensive clone of the exotic RC boost circuit, and is actually identical to the Kaleen Highwayman pedal. Running a sitar through effects pedals can be tricky, but an effect that I find especially suited to the sitar is reverb. Here I'm running it through the Eventide Space Mod Echo Verb algorithm for big modulated reverb sound. One way you can get sitar-like sounds without actually owning a sitar is to get a specialized guitar such as the Danelectro Baby Sitar, which includes a javari-like bridge to create that classic buzzy sitar sound. If you want to get even closer to the real deal, you could get the choral reissue, which includes sympathetic strings. However, another way to approximate the buzzy droning sound of a sitar is through the EHX Ravish Sitar pedal. This pedal uses digital processing and envelope detection to get a pretty close approximation of the attack, sustain, and buzzy javari overtones of a sitar. Depending on your settings, it can sound quite digital and weird. But it has many modes, and you can actually dial it in for a pretty good approximation of a real sitar, especially once you factor in drone effects. These drone sounds emulate the accompaniment of a tambura, another Indian stringed instrument that often plays along with the sitar. Drone capability is a big reason why I got the Ravish pedal, despite having an actual sitar. In fact, with separate controls and output for the lead sitar sound and the drone sounds, there are a lot of possibilities for laying soundscapes with this pedal, especially once you feed it into other effects. Let's apply some huge reverb with the free supermassive reverb plugin by Valhalla. This Barnard 33 preset is in the Nebula category of special effects, and it's named after a dark Horsehead nebula in the Orion constellation. I know you've been wondering, what does it sound like if you play an actual sitar into a sitar emulation pedal? Well, let's find out. Now I'm going to attempt to create a song using some of these instruments and effects. In this case, I'm going to do a Hindustani style cover of All Apologies by Nirvana. I usually like to start with drums to set the tempo for the rest of my playing. In this case, I'd like to use traditional instruments that accompany the sitar, and for percussion that means tabla drums. I don't have any tablas, so instead I did a quick search for sampled tabla drum loops and found some very nice ones to download from Noise. Due to its tuning and its D-flat key, this song would be a little difficult to convert to playing on sitar, so I'm going to use my Stratocaster into the Ravish pedal instead, setting the drone setting to C# to match the song's original key. To give it a little more depth, I'm going to apply a Valhalla reverb in Ableton. I'll use the montage preset from Vintage Verb because the name seems fitting and, more importantly, it sounds great. In the original, there's a low droning cello element that comes into play. To get this droning bass line, I'm actually going to use another traditional instrument, the Harmonium. This is a reeded keyboard instrument, sometimes called a reed organ or pump organ because it works a bit like an organ, but using reeds and bellows like an accordion. Today we've journeyed into a nebulous fusion of the old and the new, the traditional and the experimental, and hopefully the sublime. Be sure to subscribe to this channel so you'll be notified about our next episode, in which we'll be traveling to infinity and beyond.